Hello, this is Goku4071 here just to discuss an idea I have. People have talked about the next Batman film. I'm not here to talk about the next Batman film. I'm simply going to talk about what I've been thinking about. They should make a Batman TV show. Many people have given their opinions. Mini Kajab, I've seen his. I recommended him do a video on it, and he did. And he had some pretty good ideas. And also, Blows Himself Up Dude did his. And he did one on an animated one. But he had some really good ideas too. And I'm not going to really steal their ideas because most of these are my ideas. But Blows Himself Up Dude had a pretty good premise. First, I want the show to be live action. I think Batman deserves a live action show. Superman has had one ever since the 60s, I think it was. Maybe even before that, maybe the 50s, 40s. I don't know. He's had a lot of them. And he's had one constantly almost every 10 years, a live-action TV show. Lois and Clark, Smallville, Superboy. And yes, Superboy is still Superman. But Batman works so much better because he's more realistic. He doesn't have awesome superpowers. He doesn't fly. He doesn't have laser beams. He's very realistic in that regard. And his villains are very realistic. They're psychotic. They're crazy. They're overdramatic, but not unrealistic. Batman is a lot easier to do. The city, in my opinion, is probably the hardest thing to do. And in Smallville and in Lois and Clark, they did the city of Metropolis. Metropolis is bigger, if I'm not mistaken, than Gotham City. It might not be, but it, yeah. And I don't see why they don't do one, because you can do his villains. And in most Superman TV shows, they haven't been doing his villains. They've been, they do his villains later on, but they don't do them right because they cannot afford to do them, like Brainiac in Smallville. Now, the idea of the show I had was do a Law and Order type show. Okay? The first season, Blows Himself Up Dude had a really good idea. Make it about gadgets. Make it about Batman has basically become this detective, and he has some skill in solving crimes, but he uses everything. Basically, he's too much on forensic science and gadgets and grappling hooks and things like that. And basically, he tries to avoid combat because he has a basic sense of it, and if he does get into a brawl, he can do it. Or you can just do Batman being Batman. You can start the show off that Batman's been doing this for a while, because I don't think any of us want the show to have an origin story. There's been enough origin stories. We know Batman's origin. We don't need the TV show to begin with his origin. And so, I think that you can either go with the so reliant on gadgets, or you can go on that he is Batman, but the so reliant on gadgets kind of builds him as a person and kind of gives him a little character development. In the first season, he is so reliant on gadgets. Eventually, he's going to have to learn more than just basic martial arts to do what he needs to do his job properly. And later on the show, he can evolve and become more of the character that we know from the comics. And it is Blows Himself Up Dude's complete idea on the reliance of gadgets, but I think it would work for a TV show, and I think it would work for a live-action TV show. The love interest, I would actually have Talia. The reason being is because, yet again, Blows Himself Up Dude's idea for the second season is actually pretty good, too. Have Talia come in, and you can have it a long-distance relationship, like he met her on some business trip or something, and he's continuing it, and have the season kind of end with him learning that he can't do this like how he's doing this. He's too prone on gadgets. And my end of the season, actually my end of the season is actually quite different. Okay, the season finale would actually be the Red Hood. Yes, I don't want to use villains in the first season other than maybe a minor villain here, a minor villain there, because I want it to be more about him solving crimes. every episode is about him investigating a crime and solving it. And if you put in one episode's the Riddler, one episode's the Penguin, one episode's Joker, and you just keep using these villains over and over again, you don't get this. You don't get the idea of this is a detective show. You get the idea that this is just some superhero TV show. And I don't want it to be a superhero TV show, even though it can have supernatural into the freak of the week concept, and being more about trying to show these awesome powers and these superheroes. And I don't want all the shows to be about superheroes. This is going to be about a superhero, but doesn't have to be primarily a superhero TV show. The case of the week, and that's what it would be. It'd be, okay, this villain is doing this, you have to figure out who it is and solve that crime. No. Okay, the season finale would actually be the Red Hood, as I said before. And the idea is that this common criminal is breaking into chemical factories, or he's breaking into a chemical factory. I would actually have him be more than just one occurrence. And then Batman goes to stop him at the very end of the season, at the very end of the episode. Batman could have saved him if he had more physical ability, but because he doesn't, and because he relies on gadgets, and his grappling hook wasn't on him, he had no ability to jump down, grab onto something, and save him. So he loses his man in this green goop, and he believes he's dead. And that's the end of season 1. You can have something, and season 2 begins with Batman going on a quest to learn how to fight and to really learn how to become Batman. And that's the premise of season 2. That blows himself up, dude. Okay. As he goes on it, he calls his girlfriend, Talia, and he asks, hey, you're kind of in that martial arts thing. You know how to do martial arts pretty good. Do you know anybody who can help me teach you? And he says, yeah, my father's pretty good at it. And so that's when you introduce Ra's al Ghul, and you have him become a student. Ra's al Ghul is not going to be a villain in the second season. He's not going to be the finale. He's simply an instrument for later on in the show. But basically this season, there will be a fight at the very end. This is where he tells Ra's al Ghul that I'm not going to kill people. And basically Ra's al Ghul is upset because he felt that Bruce Wayne was kind of a son to him, and now he scoffs in his face and tells him, no, I'm not going to do it your way, I'm going to do it my way. And that's kind of how we get the rivalry for later on in the series, where Ra's al Ghul eventually will be a villain for a season. He'll be a big villain, not a small villain. Learning all about martial arts and getting that idea, and learning how to do things without gadgets all the time. And yes, the problem with this idea of the season would be it doesn't fit with the detective show. Well, he can still be solving a crime every episode. It's just he's solving a crime in another area. You don't have to have every season be in Gotham City. And so the last third of the season would be him coming back to Gotham City, and that the city is now broken into 3 different sections. And yet again, now this time the Joker is the season villain, and he stops the Joker. And while he stops the Joker is taken to trial, and that begins season 3. Okay, this is Goku 4071, and this is the end of part 1. I was originally going to have this be only a part 1, but there will be a part 2. Leave a comment or video response if you want to, and please click over to part 2, because there's more to come, and I go into more of the seasons and more of what I want to do. This is only the first 2, but there are a lot of ideas in this, and there's a lot of stuff here, so good, and hopefully we'll see you at part 2. And part 2 will have the shout out for Blows Himself Up Dude and Minji Kaja, because there will be a shout out at the very end of those for those 2. Okay, have a good day.